Hi everyone, it's Chichewa Wolf Woman and was called to share the information that flowed through today. We just welcomed the Clan Mother Weighs the Truth just the other day on the new moon, and the teachings that come with Weighs the Truth Clan Mother are just that. It's weighing the truth, but it's weighing the truth within us. And so it's an opportunity usually, and we might find this commonality right now, to revisit wounds within us, traumas, or traumas that create wounds that are within us that are ready to be acknowledged and healed, another layer, if not healed completely. These wounds normally take many attempts at healing, or should I say layers of healing, is a better way to explain it. And so as we move around the medicine wheel of life, we're given the opportunity to heal it when it presents itself to us, to be ready to be healed. And so this cycle is all about bringing the wounds to light, to the surface, that are ready to be acknowledged, either for the first time or again. And it's absolutely amazing how the medicine wheel of life works, because we may have worked on a wound 10 years ago, and since then we've worked on other wounds, and so 10 years ago we're thinking, well, that one must be done, we must have really healed that one and we're free of it. And then all of a sudden here we are again in Weighs the Truth cycle, and we're presented with this wound again, and just a deeper layer. And so yes, we're either welcoming new wounds that are ready to be acknowledged, or wounds that we have already done work with at any point in our earth walk, and it's giving us the opportunity to heal them that much deeper. And so this cycle is definitely about introspection. It is about really going within. It's going into taking a lot of time and stillness to really go into to unseen, being connected with the unseen. This is the place that will guide us to how to release and heal these wounds, the release of the emotions that are connected to these wounds, the release of the trauma that is connected to these wounds. And so we will be guided, if we take the time this cycle, to go within. And it is very much about that, because we need the time to release, to heal, to weigh the truth within us. And weighing the truth is truly connecting with the grandfather teachings of honesty, and how we feel about what is coming to the surface, and being honest about our reactions to those emotions tied to those feelings. And then also connecting with the bravery of the seven grandfather teachings, and being brave enough to know that we don't need to feel shame, or belittle ourselves or begrudge ourselves for not having completely released it at a time before, the fact that it is even a wound at all, and have the bravery to face it, and honor it, and cry if we need to, be angry if we need to release it. We need to feel through the emotions in order to truly release them, and we can only do that with bravery and honesty in facing them, and also humility, another grandfather teaching, and knowing that we are all equal in the circle of life, and that we all must feel as our brother or sisters feel in order to release, and no one is above or below that. And so very strong in love, another grandfather teaching as well. We must have love for ourselves, and therefore that at that point we can know love without. And so it's completely important for us to move through the healings, because that shows love for ourselves in its essence, in its complete essence, and respect, another grandfather teaching, and respecting ourselves, respecting our boundaries, respecting those wounds and that they are the source of our healing, respecting that they're coming up to ask us, okay, heal, let's do this, let's move through another veil, let's shatter some more illusions, let's bring you that much closer to your freedom. And then the wisdom, another grandfather teaching, and that is the wisdom that we have moved through experiences already that have given us the knowledge to move through this. So if we cherish knowledge, then we know wisdom. And so it's taking those past experiences and using the lessons we learned from them and applying them now, and that is wisdom, in order to move through this, not effortlessly, but hopefully more fluidly. And so, and in that we reach the teaching of truth, which is to know all of them, and that is the truth within us. And so that was one area I wanted to talk about, and then the connection to that is the physicality of those wounds and what it has on us. So the emotion, showing up in our physical bodies and our physical feelings. So not we've heard the growing pains aspect, the spiritual growth, and having those pains, and that's another topic of discussion that I will jump on at another point and talk about. But right now I'm talking about actual physical dis-ease in the body, connected with the emotions that are trapped, that are trying to release, that are naturally tied to the wounds that are asking to be acknowledged, to be healed. And so if we look at our organs in our body, they are the beautiful messengers to us, and they're communicating with us if we would just take more time and stillness to acknowledge the physical being connected to the mental and the spiritual. And unfortunately, sometimes, and fortunately, we are presented with dis-ease in our body that are not very nice, that are dis-eases that bring fear into our lives, but they're there as a strong messenger, as a wake-up call for us, so we can connect with that wound, whether it even be our wound or a wound carried forward from our mother or even ancestors. Though specifically, I want to talk about those wounds that have been inflicted from our own earth walk this time. And so when we look at the organs connected to the emotions, and we just think of those organs and their function, which is why I feel it's extremely important to understand at least basically the organs within our body and the functions that they have, why they're there, what they're doing, and they're all working together. So it's not one organ acting solely on its own. They're all working together, which is why one is affected. If we don't nourish and nurture that organ, eventually others will be affected. And we know that that is how the body eventually shuts down, organ by organ by organ. So the wounds, and they're tied to the organ based on what the wound is the nature of that wound. And so the most obvious one, I would say, for most that we know of is when we have any issues with reproduction, or when we think of our cervix and the abnormal cells. And this is something I personally am and have been dealing with, and it is so mainstream, this issue with the cervix and women and abnormal cells, and having this come up because this has been what the feminine aspect has been healing from oppression and being violated. And so this is why it is so mainstream. But if we look at that and we think of the issues with the reproduction and the cervix, and so let's talk about we'll talk about the cervix and abnormal cells, just because I can speak of that from a personal experience. And so we think of those abnormal cells, and those abnormal cells have come there because of a wound. And that wound could have been sexual abuse. in any shape or form, whether it was child, whether it happened adolescent, adult, whatever it may have been, not feeling good enough about ourselves, and therefore allowing entry into moving into sexual intercourse with a person that we are not comfortable with, or maybe we're moving into that intimate relationship when we are not physically, mentally, and spiritual ready for that. And so therefore our cervix, based on that wound, has now created a barrier. And that barrier is disease in our body. And until we acknowledge the wound and where it came from, and then nurture it as if it was as if it just happened, then this is going to continue to be a disease within our body, and until we choose to release it layer by layer. And so that's one example. So if we look at that function, because we think of the cervix and it brings obviously that's the entry. We must enter into that space when we're having relations with the opposite sex, and obviously that is also where a new baby passes through. And so it's that doorway, so to speak. And so we need to acknowledge where those wounds, where the source of that wound is, in order to bring healing to that area. And so another aspect would be the pancreas. And I'm just giving some examples because there are also, Louise Hay has a beautiful book with some connections to that. Though if we truly just connect with the function of an organ, we can connect with the messages that it's bringing to us. And there are organs have a variety of functions. And so pancreas, let's talk about the pancreas, which has to do with storing and releasing glucose, which is sugar, the basic form of sugar, which is sweetness, joy in life. And so if we're having issues with our pancreas, we might want to be looking at it could be one of two things. Either we're trying to take so much sweetness in and joy and hold on to it, and we're doing that in the means of even food, because we feel that we've taken that as it means the same to us as if we were actually taking it in the experience in life, but we may be taking it in food. So it's like we feel like we need to hold on to all the sweetness and joy because we're not going to get enough. Or we could be denying ourselves that fear because of a wound that showed us that is unacceptable, that joy and sweetness is not okay. And so again, we have to look to the source of that wound and why that may be presenting itself in our pancreas. And then we could see the connection from the pancreas to the liver. And usually they're working, like I said, all organs are working in synchronicity, but these two absolutely are really working in synchronicity in their functions and what's happening digestive system. And so we look at the liver, and the liver connection to the pancreas is then we can feel the anger in the liver, and this anger is really pain. And this is coming from obviously the feeling of either we're angry because we did not get to have the joy and sweetness that we wanted, or not that we wanted, that we needed. And so we're angry about it, which is really just the pain because we're sad about it, or some reason that we feel like we need to hold on to it because there's not enough of it, and because of an experience that happened in our life. And so we see the liver's job as detoxifying. And so when we don't release emotions tied to things that cause pain within us, and so the liver is a big one, then it becomes stagnant and it doesn't release and detox. And we know detox is all about releasing, and it is very connected to spiritual growth of the body. And it's because we can release, and so we can detox ourselves of emotions that are no longer serving us, connected to feelings that are affecting our everyday. And so we see the liver starting to have issues if we're being stagnant. Obviously the lungs taking in and being able to take in the newness and also release that which isn't serving us, as breath is all about life. So we see issues with the lungs. And so the brain, and seeing issues with the brain, and that is mental overload, whether it be from overthinking, from a time in our life when we were being suppressed. We're being told to suppress our thoughts. I think of it as a child that, has a beautiful imagination and is going to their parents with all these ideas, and they're like, oh, that's silly. That's, no, and really shutting that child down from this beautiful imagination of, imaginary ideas and things that, we just don't have time for as parents. And so that child gets shut down, and then we see later on in life issues, mental, brain, these sort of things. And so this is just touching in just some ideas. And so this cycle is the time to truly go into stillness. It's a time to sit with yourself and listen to the part or parts of your physical body that are talking to you. And they may not be physically hurting you right now, but if you take the time and consciously become aware that the organs within your body are talking to you, then you might actually be able to hear what they have to say without getting to the point of physically feeling the disease in them right now, not allowing it to get to that point that we are going to see a doctor or going or now at this point trying to heal it with supplements or herbs or whatever the case may be. Now, naturally, that needs to happen in some cases because wounds are so deep that we just are subconsciously constantly shutting them out, that we don't, our conscious mind is just not overpowering it at this point. But if we continue through a practice of stillness, of saying, I want to hear it, and we use the mantra of I am healing and I am healed, is extremely powerful. And sit in that, put your hand on your heart, connect with your heartbeat, feel that heartbeat, and I am healing and I am healed. I want to speak with that organ within me that is ready to teach me, because it is all about teaching and then us listening and learning and then putting it into practice for it to be experience, for then it to be wisdom, so that then we can share this with other people so that they can learn. And so this is the cycle. This is the time to take the time within and listen and go to that other layer that is ready to be healed. Acknowledge that our body is speaking to us just as much as spirit speaks to us, that we can work with them all together. And so I wanted to post this. I felt it became really strong to me in my stillness today. And this is the cycle to do this work. So take the time to do the work and see what comes to you. And so I send you love and light. I send blue light unto you. I send the ease of journey if safe and appropriate. And please share any experiences you'd like, comments that you want to share, and check out my website for more information and to subscribe for gatherings, ceremonies, drumming circles, and whatever's coming up. So www.wholebodyfit.biz, and love you all. Thank you.